thank you all for coming. Before we get started, I just want to mention that I wasn't sure how many folks were going to make it, and I really appreciate all of you coming out, even with the COVID and the travel and what have you, but thank you for coming. The only sadness today, we're really celebrating our mother. And my name's Eric, if you don't know. I'm the number 3 son. We got number 2 son, Randy. We got number 1 son back there in the back, Terry. And our sister, who has really done everything. And I'm sorry, I was fine until that bagpipe started playing. And then it's like, oh my gosh. But we are here to celebrate. But the only sadness is that Lunette could not be here. Lunette has been the one that put everything together. So everything you see here, everything that you'll experience today is really thanks to our sister, Lunette. And she's not feeling well, but she's with us in spirit. I'm going to read, oh yeah, thank goodness. I got my glasses. I didn't have to remember, but we're here to remember Shirley. You know as Shirley, I'm probably going to say Mom the whole time. But on behalf of myself and my whole family, we really appreciate that you came. Mom was so connected with so many people. Lunette makes mention here that there's so many notes, there's so many letters, there's so many small ways that Mom kept and gathered all of your loving comments to her, and it made such a difference, and we really appreciate that, and we've sensed that over the years. In fact, Lunette says, many of the notes, Lunette's been going through some of Mom's things. Many of the notes were signed by people that we didn't even know. We just know that Mom touched a lot of lives. We are going to begin the service with a song Mom recorded while she and Dad were stationed in Astoria, Oregon. This is when Dad was still in the Navy. And that was before 3 of us were born, so Terry was the only one part of the crew then. But the 3 of them, evidently, Mom used to talk about getting Terry in the car, and Dad and her would drive after church on Sunday. They would drive east from Astoria down the Columbia River to some friends that had a recording studio. And they would have a Singspiration with them and had a great time. Mom recalled that it was a very happy time in her life. And here is the recording of Mom singing, "What Will My Answer Be?"
What will my answer be? What can I say when Jesus calls me home? What can I bring that will ever repay the wonderful love He has shown? Day follows night, night follows day. Farther and farther I roam. What will my answer be? What can I say when Jesus beckons me home?
Wow. I remember Mom talking about that. How Lunette got that recording, I have no idea, but that was wonderful. That was just the coolest thing. And I remember, I don't know how many of you have been part of this church. When I was really small, I remember the old church down on the hill in Ashland. I remember the building project that we had, and we had the funds raising that we were getting ready to to build this church. But I remember listening to hymns down there and standing next to my mom singing. And you can imagine that brings back memories of singing hymns at the old church as well as this one. Now, what we're going to do right now is we're going to just open it up to the family. We're going to talk about Mom in remembrance, kind of give you a glimpse of what Mom meant to us. The mic, so you don't have to touch it. You can take your mask off, obviously. And by the way, everyone else is going to have a chance to share thoughts about Mom later in the service. So get ready. We would love to hear from you if you're willing to share, and so that we can get a glimpse, too, of how she impacted you. But you can wear a mask. You can hold the mic if you want, or if you don't want to touch anything, that's okay, too. We're going to start this by my eldest brother, Terry. He's going to come and share.
I don't know if I'll make it through it, but I'm going to try. Yeah, the memories I have is things were going pretty good for about 7 years till my mom and dad decided to have these other kids. So I had it pretty good. I got a poem here that I thought was appropriate that kind of reflects a little bit about what Mom was about. I've never made a fortune, and it's probably too late now, but I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. And as I go along life's way, I'm reaping better than I sowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. I don't have a lot of riches, and sometimes the going's tough, but I've got loved ones around me, and that makes me rich enough. I thank God for his blessings and the mercies he's bestowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. I remember times when things went wrong, my faith wore somewhat thin, but all at once the dark clouds broke and the sun peeked through again. So God help me not to gripe about the tough roads that I've hoped hoed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. If God gives me strength and courage when the way grows steep and rough, I'm not asked for other blessings. I'm already blessed enough. And may I never be too busy to help others bear their loads. Then I'll keep drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, brother. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Randy and his crew next. And,
Well, I got to be really disciplined here. I got some. It's like show and tell. Got a couple of things that remind me of my mother. I like to remind you of my mother through these things. Now, the first thing is this bag, and I'm reusing it. My mother reused things. She collected things in the containers. She would use them over and over and over again. And I thought, even the bag can remind me of my mother. And the next thing is is, and I don't think any of you are going to recognize this, but my brothers and my sister would. This is, when they were in Astoria, they met a couple, Paul and Beulah Mason. And that was when my parents began to be thrilled about the gospel going around the world. And we started supporting, my parents, supporting Paul and Beulah Mason. And they would come back from Bolivia as missionaries and visit us every 4 years. And one year, this is their supporter gift of, it's from, and I have it up on my little office that Ed Holtz built for me to remind me of the Great Commission. And my mom was very committed to the Great Commission. And we've asked people not to give flowers, although some people did, and we appreciate it. But if you'd like to give a memorial gift in remembrance of my mother, one of the things that one of the last projects that she gave toward was the Kathmandu Institute of Theology. It's one of the schools that I teach at. And she gave to help them in their building program. And so if you'd like to give something, you can give in honor of my mother through Ashland First Baptist Church, and they will send that gift on to help them in their building project for their faculty housing. Not my housing when I go there. I stay with someone else. But that would be a great way to honor my mother. That's part of her legacy in my life. Is my ministry overseas. Now, the next thing that reminds me of my mother is this little black book. It wasn't black. I recovered it. But this is my first Greek New Testament. And I'd like to read to you what my mother wrote in the front of it. I wore out the first copy and first cover, and I recovered it. It's dated Christmas 1974. I remember when I got this, I was so excited. I wanted a Greek New Testament. She knew I wanted it because I'd been studying Greek for four months already with Bruce Rogers, and she gave this to me. Christmas, okay. Our dear Randy, may Psalm 19:18 and Psalm 33 be two of your many prayers as you diligently seek to know God better through this book. And I'll just read those verses. And they're actually prayers. And they're both from Psalm 119, verse 18. This is for me, even if it doesn't mean anything to you, it means something to me because it's really shaped my life. It's a prayer. Open my eyes that I may behold wonderful things from thy law. And then verse 33. Teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes, and I shall observe them to the end. And it goes on and says, may God miraculously open your eyes to new truths daily, and may he give you a continuing desire to not forsake this very difficult task you have undertaken, that of learning the original Greek. You have been a joy to our hearts. Much love, always, Mom and Dad. And I know it's from Mom because it's her writing. But anyway, and that was her prayer too. And a lot of my life has been in answer to her prayer of what God's done in my life. And I read this and I realize she was praying for us all. And she was praying for all of us, probably everyone that's been here. here. She's been praying for. And so that's another thing. And then there's this. And some of you might know, my mother's love for Scrabble, but she loved Scrabble. She hated this book because we started using this book because, we wanted to check the words, and she didn't like that because she was the authority on how words were spelled. Because the one thing that she won, she wasn't competitive, but she won the spelling bee when she was in something like 8th grade, and she was a great speller, and she loved to play Scrabble. And I'd like to read you a couple of verses that we read to Mom the last few days, just to remind her. And this is what gives me hope. I mean, I've been, I felt a little guilty because I haven't been crying as much as I should. But, I've had some tears over the last several years. But we were reading the Psalms, and this is my Bible, but hers is here. The other Bible is hers. And these are a couple of passages that she had underlined. And one of them was one of my new favorite passages in Isaiah 65, and it has great relevance for hope. It's 65, in verse 6 and following. On this mountain, the Lord of hosts will make for all people a feast of rich food, a feast of well-aged wine, of rich food full of marrow, and of aged wine well refined. I'm just amazed my mom had this, circled and identified because it talks about wine. And my mom, we didn't have any alcohol, but that it is circled and not the wine part, but the whole passage part. But, just try to think of the context here too. On this mountain, that's the prophet is speaking about the mountain. And there's a couple other verses I'm going to read about the mountain. On this mountain, when all of this happens that it's describing, there's going to be a rich feast with food and wine. And it goes on and it says, and he, the Lord of hosts, will swallow up all this mountain, the covering that is cast over all people, the veil that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death forever. That's the veil. That's what's covering all the nations, is death. He shall swallow up death forever, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces, and the reproach of his people he will take away from all the earth, for the Lord has spoken. And then I read to her Isaiah 65, and it goes with Isaiah 25. Isaiah 65, verse 17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem to be a joy, and her people to be a gladness. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. No more shall be heard in it the sound of weeping and the cry of distress, no more will there be an infant that dies but a few days old. In verse 21, they shall build houses and inhabit them. And this is talking about the future. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. And I told Mom, Dad loved planting, and you did too. That's actually what the Bible promises. And goes on, and I'll just skip a couple of verses, and then the middle of verse 22. For like the days of a tree shall the days of my people be, and my chosen shall long enjoy the work of their hands. And that's talking about the future. It's not talking about the past of my. I was thinking about it this morning as I was waking up. The hope of the new creation that's coming. That Mom is experiencing the afterlife, which is part of the Christian hope now in heaven with the Lord. But there's a life after the afterlife. And that's what this is promising, that's yet future. And then one more passage from Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore. The former things have passed away. Some people think that this is talking about an ethereal heaven that's in the clouds, that's immaterial, that we experience in a spirit, a spirit form. Mom is still looking, like you all are, for the resurrection. She's with Christ now, disembodied spirit, soul, enjoying his presence in comfort. But that's not the fullness of our hope. That's not the final destination. The final destination is a restored earth that the prophets talked about, that John records, that heaven comes down and upon this mountain where the Lord of hosts will remove forever that veil, that death. Death is not a good thing. Death is an evil thing. It's not something that we need to just be accepting of because of the Christian hope, because of the gospel. And that's what gives me hope today. And boy, there's more. But if you want to talk about the new creation, let me know. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'd like to recommend a book. Because some of you, like me, we're going to be facing this in a few years, and we need to think about this. Randy Alcorn's book called Heaven. It's actually about the restored earth, but because heaven comes to the restored earth, and I know the next time I see my mom, if I understand Scripture right, she's going to be at that ideal age that God intended her to be, without age and death. And when I think of my mom at that ideal age, I think of her sitting on we got a couple of pictures of her sitting on a piano bench on the beach in Guam, where Lunette was born, in a bathing suit with her red hair. She won't be in a bathing suit when I see her next, I don't think. But, and I don't know if some of the pictures coming up is going to include that picture, but she was 28 years old, and she's going to, and I might not recognize her until she speaks, but it's going to be after the resurrection. And heaven comes down. We don't go up as our final destination. Heaven comes down, where God dwells with us on this earth, planting, and building, and eating and drinking. That's the gospel. And in case you think that's kind of strange, because there's Revelation. My mother's favorite book was a Schofield Reference Bible. And, this Bible says the same thing as this Bible, and in the notes, it explains things really well, the way I just explained them. So that represents my mom, too. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, brother. Wow, this is great. The another thing that we were blessed with here in Southern Oregon is that when we were growing up, we made two pilgrimages back to the home country back in Michigan to experience the extended family. But when I was quite little, we had the wonderful experience of Mom's brother deciding to move out and be part of our crew here. And so we got to experience some of Mom's roots right here. And Uncle Howard, if you have anything to say, I'd love for you to have a moment. That's okay. Chauncey, Jake, would you like anything? It's okay. Okay. Well, that was a huge, wonderful experience to have Uncle Howard and his crew to be part of our crew here. Now, Linnea, I haven't forgot about you because Lynette's part in this is going to come a little bit later in the service. But I want to give Linnea and Matt a chance to speak about their personal stuff if they would like to. In fact, I'm not sure where they're at, but, okay. But if you're good right now, because Linnea is going to read what Lunette wanted to share later on. So I guess I'm up as far as the family, unless I'm missing someone. And I'm going to, it's Kathy and Aaron, yep. Yes.
Good. All right. So, I was trying to think of what I should share. I didn't say anything when my grandma Matthew passed away because I hadn't really talked to her in a while, and I felt sort of guilty. But I was reflecting this morning. I think of all the memories I've got, I think the one that's probably most important to share is the day I found out why no one asked Grandma to pray before we eat. So, Grandpa always prayed before we ate. And it was always really short. Lord, bless this food into our bodies, that kind of thing. And I kind of felt like, of the two of them, Grandma's the more spiritual one, right? So why doesn't Grandma pray before meals? And I unwittingly, one day, said, just out of nowhere, Grandma, why don't you pray? And everyone kind of, oh no, what just happened? And I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. And she said, yes, I'd love to pray. And then took a very deep breath. I was like, oh, this is why nobody asks her to pray before food, because we might not actually get to the food. And she takes a deep breath in and she just, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. And I'm exaggerating. I don't know how long it took. It felt like 30 minutes. And it's just, she loved to pray. And I think if you can, for her, it was like asking, would you like to talk to this person right here that you care about very deeply? Yes, I would. I would love to talk to this person. And I'm going to talk to this person for a while. And the food doesn't matter anymore. And that's the only time I ever heard Grandma pray before food. But she loved to pray. And I think if you can say something like that about someone, that they're probably most characterized by loving to pray more than food, then that's a pretty great legacy to have. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Andrew. Or Kathy, would you like to say anything? Okay. Okay, and if you change your mind, let me know. Again, we're going to have you all have a chance. I'm going to kind of break up my time a little bit. I'm just going to read another verse, a couple of verses. So this last year, and the reason that I'm at peace is because most of us had good times, good moments, good saying goodbye to Mom this last year. We're so thankful for that. The middle part of my life, I was a respiratory therapist, and I worked in a hospital. I worked in ERs. I worked in ICUs. I saw a host of end-of-life situations, many, many, many. And some of them were wonderful. I felt God's presence as this wonderful person that I was helping be comfortable at the end of life was passing on to the Lord. I ran into horrible situations where every dysfunction, every angry thought, every jealous thought came out in families. And the worst of things would happen at that crisis point when Mom or Dad would pass. And I have to thank God that it's not us. Mom and Dad set this love. Oh, here we go. I've been good up until now, we'll see. But Mom and Dad set this amazing love for the family, for friends. I have a picture I took in November when I came back to visit Mom. That's the last time I saw her. And I was with her at the home, and the last thing I got, picture of her, she was mouthing some words to me, and I didn't know what it was at first. I have the picture, I'll show it to you. The last thing she says was, "I love you." I mean, that's Mom. You know, that's Mom. She, to the end, though, she never thought she did enough. And I read to her scriptures, and I read to her John 15. I said that John 15 begins, "I am the true vine. My Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes it, that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, so neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He or she who abides in me and I in them, they will bear much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." And this is the fruit of my mom and my dad. And thank you for being part of it. My family. So my place in the family, I don't know if you've noticed, so I'm the fourth. Now, I always felt like I was the last one that got the least and the most trouble. I was the most trouble of all four of them. You know, I'm trying to look at it. God's kind of helped me look at it like, well, you know, he tried with Terry and Randy and Lynette, and then he really got it right with me. You know, that's what my brain's trying to do with it. But honestly, I stand in this amazing family. My brother Terry, we have always been proud of him. And oh man, I'm gonna get. But Mom and Dad, they were into service of their country and service to the mission. And Randy was right, that when I was little, those are the two things that were little signs all over the house, was either service and steadfast fierceness for this wonderful country we have. My brother Terry carries on that legacy. This message about telling Jesus and sharing Jesus and Jesus' love to the world. My brother, he's done that plus. My sister, sharing that same love that Mom oozed out of her. The last thing she said to me, man, I'm standing in the midst of giants, and I'm so thankful for them. Mom's influence was me. I'm going to let two of my kids kind of be part of the rest of my story. My daughter is reading a poem of my grandmother. This is Mom's mom. Mom's mom, Grandma Jessie, Grandma Cotton. She grew up on a farm, very humble circumstances back in Michigan, but she had a passion to write poems. And this poem it kind of helps our family and kind of gives you a picture into our family's legacy.
I made an apple pie by Jessie V. Cotton in 1967. I made an apple pie today, juicy, tart, and sweet, with cinnamon and nutmeg too, an appetizing treat. But no one came a-runnin' when I rolled out the dough. Hey, Ma, let me help, like they did long ago. The school bus doesn't stop by our house anymore. No feet pound the driveway and slam the back door. Hey, Ma, I'm hungry. Ma, got any pie? I've got to go practice basketball, Ma. Can I? No shouting, no patter of feet do I hear. No quarreling, no whistling, no basketball cheer. How I wish I could give, as I sit and I sigh, each one of my dear ones right now, a piece of my pie.
So you caught that, and she was talking about Howard. He was a basketball player. But you get a little sense of the legacy. That was my grandmother. My mom loved that story. Lunette is carrying that powerful legacy. That was my daughter who read that. So, again, that was part of it. I have a song now that my son is a mandolin player. He wrote a song. It's no words to it. He wrote a song. And I'm sorry, I'm going to find, he explains it. He wrote this song for Mom, and it's called Shirley's First Yard Sale. So Mom always loved the yard sales. We grew up stopping at every yard sale. And so Seth, he wrote this saying, one day he was remembering how much Grandma loved yard sales because it came up in the conversation. I had this thought about what it was like when she first discovered the yard sale. I imagined her as a little girl, just blown away by this magical event. And she turned into a little girl every time we got to a yard sale. I tell you, she was giddy whenever we got to yard sales. But she was always blown away. People put out their old treasures in their lawn for everyone to come and take to a new home. I imagined the biggest smile and just so much excitement about all the books, lamps, clothes, and pretty much anything else she found. I had similar experiences with her at my first yard sales. she went to a yard sale to see what she wanted when she was putting on a yard sale. Oh, I can get rid of this and this. But that energy is mom. Last thing, my part. I'm going to try. I have a song, one more song for me. And I haven't been playing for a while, but I sang this song at Dad's funeral. It was one I put together. It was something that I put together because of my experiences when I was that respiratory therapist, and I was at end of life so much. But I'll do my best. Hopefully it can give you a picture of what was important to Mom and the message that she always bathed us with. Mom was fierce and Mom was strong. Let me try once more. My mind's going blank a little bit. Mom was fierce and Mom was strong. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have wrote it down. My mind's blank. She reminded us from the start. Oh, you have it? Oh, yeah. Oh, you all have it. Well, you guys should sing it. Thank you. Oh, yeah. And Lunette wanted to make sure that, we remembered the squeezing hugs of Mom. They were famous. I think part of my back surgeries might have gone back to some of those hugs that Mom gave us, especially when we were out of town and we were coming into town. But Mom was fierce and Mom was strong. She would squeeze with hugs so long. She reminded us from the start to trust the Lord with all our heart. Life was there, I felt its touch. Life was there, I felt it brush my heart. I was there the other day when our mom, she passed away. I saw the body and I saw that place. I touched the hands and the empty face. Death was there, I felt its touch. Death was there, I felt it brush my soul. Oh, but I believe, and there's more, yes, I believe, and God's made a place where we can go. I want to go there, yeah. I want to touch the heavens. I want to go where God can be seen. And I want to live forever. I want to feel my heart beat on. Want to love forever. Want to know that life has won in me. Oh, that life has won in me. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son. Whoever believes, whoever receives, shall never die, shall never die. I want to go there, yeah. I want to touch the heavens. I want to go where God can be seen. And I want to live forever. Wanna feel my heart beat on, yeah. Wanna love forever. Wanna know that life has won in me. Oh, that life has won in me. Now what we'd like to do is the last weeks before Mom passed. Like I said, I read some scriptures when I was in town, but Randy and Lynette were with Mom for this last month. Randy would read scripture and Lynette would sing hymns. And without a hymnal, Mom knew all the words. So we'd like to sing a couple of hymns. We're going to sing, if you turn, Trust and Obey. The hymnal, we're just going to sing 3 verses of that. That's 523. And then you'll turn the page, a couple pages over, and we're going to sing It Is Well With My Soul at 519. We're going to do 3 verses of each. So we're going to start with Trust and Obey. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to do that.
And I wanted to say something too, that these 2 hymns are ones that Shirley chose before this day came. And I know that the words of these hymns, the message that she wanted to convey is how much she loved each one of you.
We're going to do verse 1, 3, and 4. When we walk with the Lord in the light of His word, what a glory He sheds on our way. While we do His good will, He abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey. Never can prove the delights of His love until all on the altar we lay. For the favor He shows and the joy He bestows are for them who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey. And in fellowship sweet, we will sit at His feet, or we'll walk by His side in the way. What He says we will do, where He sends we will go, and fear only trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey. We're going to sing the first verse and the 4th verse of It Is Well With My Soul, 519.
is well, it is well with my soul. Past the day when my faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back like a scroll. The trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. With my soul, it is well, it is well with my soul.
This is the time. If any of you would like to share, we'd love to hear any things that you have to say about our mom. The mic is open. We're going to leave it open for a couple of minutes. If you have anything at all, we'd love to hear how mom impacted your life.
Well, we go back a long way. We met in around 77, 78. He had an internship at First Baptist Medford, and I was the church secretary. He is a prankster, let me tell you. He put my bike on the roof so I couldn't go home one night. Yes, you did. Yes, it was you. Dwight didn't do it, I know. He was too good. So anyway, I met Mom because he had these phenomenal sandwiches. They had cream cheese, cucumbers, and sprouts. I thought they were the best thing. I kind of took his sandwiches a lot. Anyway, and I couldn't wait to meet this woman who had these phenomenal sandwiches. Well, I went to college a year later and came here because I was going to SOC. And I met her. What a jewel. And I didn't have a spiritual mom because my parents never did anything spiritual. So she has been my spiritual mom probably ever since then. I've been in and out of her life, but she's always the same. Big smile, big hug, and words of wisdom. I believe that God used her very many times in my life to keep me on the path that we are supposed to be on, heading for our time with the Lord. And I saw her just a few weeks ago, a week ago, and she still just smiled. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. I'll never forget her, and I know that I am here a large part because of who she was and her influence in my life. So I just praise God for her.
I was in, what do they call them, prime timers with Shirley. And on several different occasions, strangers would come through that door, and they would always want to sit by Shirley because in previous years, Shirley had reached out to them when they came here. And she was so influential in their lives. It was like she was evangelical. She was a missionary here. She really was. And if she could ever encourage you, and being in a women's missionary fellowship too, I loved it that even when she got older, she couldn't hear. She wanted to be there. She wanted to pray for the missionaries. She wanted to encourage everybody to keep coming and keep missionary fellowship going. And, with her money, with her attitude, with her presence, Shirley was such a light to all of us. And she always encouraged all of us. And whenever I'd come in the room, "Oh, Barb, I'm so glad you're here." And I'm sure that she did that to you. It was awesome to just be around her ministry and share her life.
Anyone else like to share?
I don't go back with Shirley and her family as far back as Pam does, and many of you either. But I came to this church in 2002, and me and my family, and Shirley was the greeter. And Shirley greeted us every week and was so glad to see us. And we weren't sure this was our home the first week, but by the third week, we were pretty sure this is home. And Shirley exemplified the love of Christ in her joy and in her caring and in her prayer life and in her love for her family and her love for us. Shirley was one of a kind.
I'm going to go ahead and read what Lynette wanted to say. And again, this is really, I want to be clear, all of us brothers, we loved our mom, and we loved also our sister, and how Lynette bathed Mom with love over this last 10, 15 years. And she's heartbroken that she's not here, obviously. But I'm going to read what Lynette wanted you all to hear. In closing, I am forever indebted to my mother for helping me raise my own children. My mother welcomed the opportunity for my children to feel loved and at home on Grandma and Grandpa's farm. My mom was always there while my children were growing up, a welcoming refuge for not only our family, but every weary soul in need of rest and love. I realized just how influential and stabilizing my mother's loving home was to Justin and Linnea when my parents started talking about putting the farm up for sale. Justin came to me and said, "The day Grandpa sells the farm will be the saddest day of my life." When I asked him why, he replied, "It's the only home I've ever known." Mom had the ability to make countless people feel at home. After she broke her hip, she moved from her home at Mountain View Estates and never really had a home of her own after that. She moved to temporary spaces, from rehab to assisted living to rehab and back to assisted living, then into an RV on Lynette's property, and then to assisted living at Suncrest Place. She would sometimes say, "I'm ready to go home, but it's not up to me." The day before Christmas, she greeted me with the words, "Lynette, this time I really have to go. Tell everyone how precious they are to me and how much I love them. But I have to go this time. I want to go home now." And she did, 1 week later, on the last day of 2021. We have a song about the welcome home children.
A great day is coming. Heaven's gates will open wide, and all who love the Lord will enter in to join with their loved ones who in Jesus Christ have died, our eternal life in heaven to begin. And the Lord himself will greet us. Oh, what joy shall fill that day, when with the smile of the proudest Father he looks at us to say, welcome home, children. This is the place I've prepared for you. Welcome home, children. Now that your work on earth is through. Welcome home, children. We who have
thank you again for coming. I'm going to pray real quick as we close, and I'd like to invite you all in the fellowship hall. The family would just like to thank you. We have some special things. Mom's favorite, one of her favorite drinks, and I want to point out a mug that she gave me. So when I had a paper route there for 3 or 4 years, Mom would get me up early Sunday morning when the Medford Mail Tribune did an early Sunday morning paper. And she always got me out of bed. Everyone else was sleeping. She made that hot chocolate for me, and she got me down to my paper route. So we're going to have some hot chocolate for you. And Mom loved Danish pastries. That was a treat in our house. She would make them by hand. We have some Danish pastries. They weren't made by Mom, obviously, but we have some Danish pastries for you. Okay, yep, I'm going. Yep.
Yeah, the last thing that we said to Mom was Andrew, my youngest son, he read from Luke chapter 23, Jesus' words to the thief on the cross. And she was looking right at Andrew when he read this. And it says, and he, the thief, he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he said to him, truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. And that was 12 hours before, she went to be with the Lord.
Dear God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this. It's definitely some sadness, but God, we celebrate this wonderful life that Mom was to all of us. Our family is just forever blessed. The power that you gave us through Mom, the love that you gave us, the truth that you gave us, the peace, the wisdom you gave us, and the joy that you gave us through Mom. And not only our family, but these others here, thank you so much for her life. And I pray that your truth and your love and your peace and your power will move through each and every one of us to our families as we leave here, as we just, again, thank you for Mom. In the name of Jesus, we thank you. Amen. All right, we will meet you in the fellowship hall when you get a chance. The family's going to hustle back there, and then we'll